Okay, we're ready.
All right, thank you guys for joining. My name is Itay Gazit. I grow subtropical and maybe tropical fruits for the past 5 years. My main experience is with mangoes, and I'm here to share my experience with you. And the question is, can mangoes grow in the Bay Area? Is a big question. Many people say no, some people say yes. I will let the picture speak. This is a tree in San Jose, a mango tree in Pittsburgh, a mango tree in Richmond, a mango tree in Winters, a mango tree in Fremont, in San Martin, Sacramento, Santa Clara, and again San Jose. So the picture speaks by itself. Mango can grow it, but they need special conditions. Our cold tolerance are the mangoes. So when winter comes, the first frost will actually burn the new brownish leaves. Pencil branches will get burned by 28, 29 degrees. And 1-inch diameter branches should survive down to 26. All mango varieties have similar cold tolerance. So it was a rumor that there are some more cold tolerance varieties. It's just a rumor. It's not true. What's the number one cause of death for mango plants in the Bay Area? So it's not the cold. Root rot. The rain that sometimes do not stop, and without the sun, mangoes cannot tolerate prolonged cold, wet feet. So what are the grow methods that we can use to grow mangoes, and assuming we don't have a greenhouse? The recommended way is to grow from seed or buy a seedling. Yes, it will take 7 years to get the fruits, but you have a healthier tree, and all the mangoes in the picture that I showed before are seedlings. With polyembryonic seeds, the tree that you will have will produce a similar fruit like the mother tree. And plant as much as you can, because you can never know, once in 10 years there will be a big frost or one month of just rain, so you can never know which tree you will lose. The other options is to buy a grafted tree and grow it in a pot, then protect it in the greenhouse just for the winter, or plant it in the ground in the same protected area. Mangoes in general require warm temperatures to grow. I suggest that we establish a stronger tree as possible, because if the tree is healthy, you have a chance. If it's not healthy, you have lower chances to succeed. Planting in semi-protected areas. If you decide to plant a mango, try to find a spot that is protected for wind, that gets maybe less rainwater, close to a fence, protected by other trees, and receive some afternoon sun. In the pictures you can see I planted my mangoes close to a wall and close to the fence, and they're growing well. Soil mix. Mangoes, because they cannot tolerate wet feet, they must have a great drainage, something like papayas. They like sandy soil. Usually people recommend 50% sand, and for the rest it's up to you. You can add some ground mix, perlite, peat, pumice, red lava rocks. It's up to you. Kellogg's release this garden soil in Home Depot and Lowe's. You can buy that, and some people use it and say it works for them. Mangoes do need some slightly acidic soil, and most important, don't add any compost. Feeding. Slow release fertilizer with low nitrogen is what mangoes like. However, they do want to have all kinds of micronutrients. iron, calcium, sulfur, zinc, magnesium, boron, copper, chlorine, everything. They just like it, and if you see some different colors than on your leaves, it means that one of the micronutrients is missing. You can further feed with micronutrients. For example, on the left side is a citrus spray that's used for mango and it has some great success. The other pictures are for some other fertilizers that are good for mangoes. Rootstock. The plants that we buy usually grafted are coming from Florida. The Florida rootstock turpentine is terrible for the California climate. It doesn't tolerate wet feet, and unfortunately they choose this turpentine, and most of the trees that exist are with the Florida rootstock. And we need your help on finding the perfect rootstock. With a perfect rootstock, we can actually grow mangoes much wider and grafted it. Meaning that, for example, 2 years ago, I went to Florida, I ate a bunch of mangoes, I brought the seeds with me back. I just planted them in the seeds, and I did overwater them by mistake because I didn't know that they do not like overwatering by then. But one of them survived, so I planted it in the ground and it survived winter. This is the one in the picture. And it could be that it's a good rootstock for the California climate and our soil. So if you get mangoes from different one, plant them in the ground, see if it's a success, report to the Santa Cruz Facebook page, tell us how you succeed, and maybe we will figure out what is the best rootstock for mangoes. Watering. Let it dry out between watering. Mango won't die if it's dry out for a few days or a week. It doesn't like wet feet, so if you let it dry out, it will go faster. Diseases. Powdery mildew is the most common disease. If you spray with sulfur before, you can prevent it, and if you spray with copper after, you can actually treat the disease. Grafting. Mango requires temperatures above 65 to succeed with grafting. If I don't have enough experience with grafting mangoes, but from reading online, you must have temperatures that are higher than 65 to succeed. Which varieties should grow well? The bare summer is short. We should choose a variety that turns from flower to a mature fruit in a short time. For example, the Glen mango will ripen 2 months prior to the kit mango. So if we buy a kit mango, which is sometimes sold in the Home Depot or Lowe's, it won't ripe on time before the winter starts. So let's try to find the ones that actually can fruit in a short time. Regarding flowering, the way the mango plants flower in California and Florida is different, so we don't know actually which varieties flower early and which one flower late in the California climate. However, there are some grafted mango trees such as Diamond and Number 9 that will keep bloom all summer, so it's really hard to grow them because they do not set any new growth, just blooming. Still, it's worth if you like it. One thing important to mention that is in Florida in the past 5-10 years, the Zills, they release awesome new varieties with great tasting mangoes that you can't imagine. You should try this, and someone's name is lemon meringue, lemon zest, sweetheart, juicy peach. All of these are really good mangoes. If you like mangoes, you should try the Zills mango. This is awesome. And that's it. So good luck everyone, and grow as much as you can because you need some backup trees. You can have success plant it in semi-protected, do not add compost, find a spot and plant as much as you can. My trees are doing good in ground, some of them. I already killed a few, but if you do not experiment, you won't know. So good luck.
Well, thank you so much. So, any questions?
Can you talk about why compost is bad for them? Is it nitrogen burn?
It's because if there is high nitrogens, they don't like it. They will just feel bad for that. So they will just and unlike Florida, we must have a healthy tree. Otherwise, it won't survive because we are on the edge between killing them or surviving.
Right.
So it needs to be super healthy.
So we did plant all the mangoes here in like compost-rich soil. Didn't have any other choice basically. It's a somewhat different situation than growing them outdoors because the greenhouse, presumably will not drop below 50 even in winter. So it's more like India than and high humidity and so on. Do you think that still the compost will be a detriment, and in what way?
I think that if you replace the compost with the sand, you will see twice growth. The mangoes in the greenhouse, from what I looked at, they just grow really slow. They're supposed to grow much faster.
Huh. But we don't really want them to produce a lot of green mass. We want them to produce fruits.
Yes, but they are still young. If you need them to grow some great thick branches to all the fruits, then after you can put the compost.
Huh. Yeah, so we might have to do it with next batch when we start planting more mangoes, just enrich the soil around them in sand, basically, in good quality sand.
The soil mix. You can put, if you put the compost on top, it's not damaging as you put the compost in the mix.
Yeah, well, it's useful information, yeah. And I hope everyone plants a lot of mango seeds outside in gardens, and then we can experiment. And we have lots of branches to graft since we're trimming those as they're growing. So,
do you know about clay-based soil? Does it make a difference, or is it?
The drainage with the clay is really bad, so they will just die eventually, or it will be really hard for them. But again, if we plant many varieties of seeds, we may find a variety that can tolerate clay soil.
Huh. What about? You planted all those seedlings from Florida and from other places. Do you really think there's sense of getting really focusing on getting more varieties, or just planting same variety, get mangoes in Safeway or Costco, but there's only one or two varieties? Do you think there's enough variability in those seeds?
I think it really depends on if it's a mono or polyembryonic seed. If it's a polyembryonic, it's like the mother tree. It will behave mostly the same, like the Mexican one, the Manila that we buy in the store. So they should all act the same, similar. So if one of them is not resistant to clay, soil, or wet feet, they all act the same.
Okay.
So it's really recommended to try different varieties. And I see that in the growing on my plants that some do much better than others.
So it does make a difference.
So when you say polyembryonic, do you mean like pollen and egg from different sexual fertilization?
I know each mango variety has it's either mono or polyembryonic. You can Google that. There's a different look on the seed. You can just see that.
Okay, gotcha.
How would you describe it? How can you tell them apart? I don't know either. So
you can Google that see that there is a different look for mono and a polyembryonic seeds. They look different.
So what's the difference between mono and polyembryonic? Does it just basically have multiple seedlings that grow from one seed? Different genetics for each of them, or same genetics?
So the poly will take from the mother tree. Will take this. It will grow the same as the mother tree. Same food, same everything.
So was it pollinated from the same tree, by pollen from the same tree, you think? Self-pollinated?
Yeah. It's not about pollination. It's not about pollination. It's just the type of the seed. The pollination by bees or something like that it's something different.
It's not affected by it's affected by mother tree, not by pollination? And that's interesting. I don't know about it, so I'm curious. Huh. Interesting. I have to definitely look into it.
So if you, for example, Namdok Mai, when you take the seeds of the Namagontokmai, it will be polyembryonic. So if you can put the seed, you will get very similar fruit after 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if it was pollinated by itself or by other tree.
Hmm.
It could be that there is some small diff, but usually it's the same.
Huh. Very interesting.
So a few more questions. You mentioned turpentine soil's really bad. Can you talk more about that? Why is it bad?
So there are a lot of experience in California for the turpentine. You see many trees that are being killed from no reason. My own trees, sometimes during spring, I see a lot of dieback. It just doesn't like our climate, and it doesn't like the cold, wet feet in winter that we have here. So you have better chances for a grafted tree on a different rootstock compared to the Florida one.
Gotcha. And for germinating seeds, say, I know that you split the husk, right? Is there any other advice you give for creating mango?
It's really easy. You put it in a paper towel for a few days or a week, and then you can plant it.
Okay.
So I've been also planting a lot of those seeds. You know, I cut the shell, and then there's often paper-like husk inside. So I assume you discard it because it may have some inhibitory hormones or some
I
other
usually
stuff.
just remove it, but I don't think it's bad.
Okay. Any other tricks to planting them?
They're really easy to germinate in general. Just keep it water,
Mm-hmm.
keep it wet.
What if you partially damage the seed? If you cut part of it accidentally, would it still grow?
I don't know.
It probably depends which part of the seed, but you know,
Yes,
it's easy to injure it too when you're
Yeah.
trying to cut it out with sharp object because they're not so easy to remove from a seed, from a shell.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I talk to people in Hawaii, for example, who also plant a lot of them, and they said they do the same thing. That you know, just take sharp scissors or something and cut it out very gently. You know, trying not to injure the seed. Yeah, I just plant them actually directly in the ground. I found they just sprout the same way without really going through intermediate stage of plastic bag.
Yeah, I do the plastic bag before because if in the ground, if you miss the watering, then it can just dry out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put them in the towel first, in the wet towel for a week, then it starts to germinate in the towel, and then you move it to the soil.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you have higher chances.
Do you have any experience with the famous white mango?
Yeah, I have some experience. I tried it once. The white mango is not the same mango. It's from the same family. It's really harder to grow here. We actually, if we want to, it's from seed. It's much it's much tropical than compared to the other mango. So it's really sensitive to even 40 degrees cold, wet feet. It just died too for me. And from what I read online, we can just take the mango seedling, graft another type of a mango from the same family, and then graft the white mango on top of it, then you can have a succeed.
Huh,
So
interesting.
it's really hard.
It is, sounds difficult. And there's also, I think there's type of like purple dart mango. I've seen pictures from Australia. I don't remember.
Tsui?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
So it's a wild mango. It's reported to have the same cold tolerance, but not bad, but Zil's mangoes should taste much better than that.
Interesting, okay. And do you know of any, because we were talking about rootstocks potentially, so do you know of any mango relatives that could be potential rootstocks?
I don't know about any evidence that any mango relative is actually a better rootstock. There are some trees in Israel and in Europe that they found some good rootstock. I wish we had them in the US. We can try to import them or find the right rootstock for us by doing the research ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be worth looking into that, yeah. In addition to planting all the seeds and growing those seedlings. So I'm planting them both outdoors and in a greenhouse, and as many as possible, basically. Getting more mangoes, eating more mangoes than I ever ate in my life. Different varieties, yeah.
If we do a survey, you will see that mango probably is the tastiest fruit in the world.
Well, there's lots of varieties. It is one, I agree, it's one of the tastiest.
I mean, do a survey. I mean, it's everyone has his own fruit, but if you do a survey for all people, you will find mango
It
to be
is?
number one probably.
It is delicious, yep. And there's so many varieties, all kinds of sizes, shapes, colors. Just like with plums, people have been growing them for so long. That's why I'm looking forward to Sonia's access to all kinds of science and stuff.
Yeah.
And once we,
I really recommend people to try or order the mangoes from the Zil released, like the lemon zest and lemon meringue and juicy peach. They actually lemon meringue. If you get it at the right ripeness, then it actually tastes like the lemon meringue cake. It's really amazing. And the juicy peach, although they call it a juicy peach, if you eat it at the right time, it tastes like a combination of a mango and a red pomelo.
huh,
So it's amazing how the diversity of taste if you pick it at the right time.
very interesting. And is there a place where we can buy those fresh fruits? Does Zil sell them directly, ships them?
Zils do not sell them directly. Actually, it's not allowed to order fruits from Florida because of California regulations, USDA regulations. So you are not allowed. But if you go there or we found
Can you send them to, say, a neighboring state like
different other states,
Nevada?
yeah, you can, but you have to deal with California laws, right?
Okay. Any other unusual things that you'd like to share about mangoes? I mean, you've been growing lots of different exotic fruits. What else is unusual about mangoes, different from other things, that's more challenging or better, that you were surprised about, perhaps?
The only surprise is that with all the smoke, they were the only one that grow.
All right.
What's the lifespan? They grow like 50 years, right?
So in our climate, when we see picture from Florida, we see huge trees, right?
Yeah.
We in California should try to treat them as a big bush instead,
Okay.
because they will just go to a big bush, something like 10 feet, and they will probably stop there. So let's not. This is why I'm saying, plant them close to a fence, plant them close to a wall. They won't grow such big like they grow in Florida.
Very cool. Also grow huge in Hawaii too. I mean, it's a humongous sized trees, old trees.
Yeah, and the birds pick them. You don't pick them.
Do we know what sort of humidity they prefer? I mean, the places where I know they grow, it's quite humid. Florida, Hawaii, India.
They like warm weather. The humidity is not a high requirement. They like such small humidity. They prefer the humidity, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
They like the afternoon sun. They like warm weather. If we had a warm night, for example, and a warm day, they would just go, like in Florida.
That's very good. Let's see. Do you think it's an advantage to actually grow them in the pots as opposed to growing them in the ground in California?
Actually not. From my experience, they go much slower in a pot compared to in the ground. You can grow in a pot, but if I get 1 or 2 flashes in a pot, I get 3 or 4 flashes in the ground.
Oh, but there are places in California when it gets really cold in winter, so that might be the place to actually put it back in. They do fruit in pots if they're grafted.
So I have a recommendation for that. So if you grow in a pot, for example, you have those greenhouses that are really easy to assemble and take apart. So what I do, I have some mangoes in a pot. I put them in that greenhouse during the winter and just move the cap out of the greenhouse and afterward in spring.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, any other questions? So unfortunately Zoom didn't work, so we don't have online questions. But at least we have 2 recordings with live recording, and we have this recording that will be placed on YouTube. So any last words before
Thank
we...
you guys for coming. Thank you for watching, and continue to grow and grow from seeds. And let's find the great rootstock for California.
Thank you so much. We will work on that. Thank you.
Thank you.